Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first ever broadcast of John Collins Live. It's a heralded moment that's been awaited for past 6 months. We're here in the fabulous Tuck-In in Bradbury Street, in Dalston behind Gillette Square, and we're in quite a busy place, run by Peter Hodge and his staff. And I'm with the legendary professional boxing trainer, the G-Man, and we're going to talk about a little bit of boxing. It's before the open mic night at the Tuck-In. You can all talk, don't worry, just talk. I mean, I enjoy the audience. So we're going to talk about Anthony Joshua against Carlos Takam for about 10 minutes. And G-Man, in your opinion, a lot of people have come out and said that Carlos Takam did a lot better than was anticipated, given the fight he had it on short notice. Do you think it was on short notice, or do you think he has had more notice as a substitute than was reckoned?
Well, the narrative is that he knew he had a fight come along, but at the end of the day, you still got to do what you got to do. When you're in there, your preparation is down to you. You can go to the ring like you're going to a cemetery, or you can go to the ring like you're going to the monarchy. So it's up to you. You know, that's what it's about. Anthony Joshua, he did his job. Takam did his job. Some people are not happy. I don't know why, but that's some people. Everyone is entitled to their opinion.
Well, there were boos. There was 80,000 people in the Millennium Stadium, and there were boos because, of course, I'm going to have to touch on the stoppage. I mean, in your opinion, what's your opinion about the stoppage? Because a lot of fans will say that they got cheated.
Yeah, the stoppage looked premature. The thing about being a referee is there at the moment. So the only reason you can find out why the fight was stopped, you have to speak directly to the referee, because he's there at the moment.
Well, he's not said very much, and nor the British Boxing Board of Control. There seems to be a bit of silence from the officials. So do you think that the fans may have been cheated? I mean, and at the end of the day, Carlos Takam is a cruiserweight.
Sure.
Moved up to heavyweight. He's taken the fight at a few weeks' notice.
Sure.
He's given a good account of himself.
Sure did.
He wasn't really in trouble.
I was very impressed. He took the right hand away instantly.
Right.
In that fight.
And then the referee stops the fight. So, I mean, we're not really here to talk about the fans as such, but we have to draw our attention to, a decent opponent. Having said that, Takam has moved up to number 19 in the independent box rec ratings.
Sure.
Joshua remains at number 1.
Sure.
Who do you see as the biggest test for Joshua out there in the heavyweight scene right now?
Well, we've got to talk about Fury. Let's get it right.
Which Fury?
The Fury that we know of the past, Tyson Fury. We've got to talk about him because he's the man. He's unbeaten. Apart from Joshua, he's probably the only heavyweight who is unbeaten of any credibility. And we look at Fury, he's the man who beat the man. So the man who beat the man, get back. We're waiting for you. Get back. That's the fight. I'm buying a ticket.
G-Man, may I put this to you? When Mike Tyson was incarcerated for alleged criminal activity,
sure,
3 years he spent inside. When he came out, he wasn't the same fighter as he had been before.
Agreed.
He seemed shrunken, diminished, and he never quite... Custamato had died, Jim Jacobs had died, Kevin Rooney had fallen out with, Steve Lottie fallen out with, and he ended up going with idiots. Tyson Fury's now been out of the game for... coming on for a year and a half, 2 years.
Sure.
After beating Klitschko.
Sure.
So what hope does he have of regaining his viability as a boxer?
When you win a title, and you didn't have a title before, when you win a title, then you realize you have possessions. And all of a sudden, there's a change in the mind. You now have a responsibility. And if you're not fully prepared, mentally not fully prepared, you have problems. And I think that's Tyson's problem. But you know what? He's a great fighter and he'll be back.
He'll be back and hopefully as vibrant. Apart from Tyson Fury, in the event that he doesn't actually return because the jury's out, what about Joseph Parker? He beat Fury's cousin recently and he's making noises he'd like to fight Joshua. Is that the right warm-up fight for Joshua against possibly Deonte Wilder? The fact that Joshua thinks that Parker would be an easy fight, is that an easy fight?
You have to give the onus on Joshua. Joshua's the bigger puncher in that fight. Parker is not a big puncher. Joshua loves a good tear up. The thing about Joshua is that he goes down. So you have a concern there. The thing about it, he gets up. That's what makes it competitive.
Well, it makes it competitive, but a promoter today or yesterday alluded in the press that AJ shouldn't yet compare himself with Muhammad Ali because AJ gets hit and he goes down, whereas Muhammad Ali had a great chin. I mean, let's face it, he did.
Sure.
What do you say to that?
Well, you know, the thing about it, you can have a bad chin, but it has to get hit. The thing about it, if you want to win a fight, you're going to put yourself on the point. And AJ does that. He puts himself in that position, say, listen, get me or I get you. And that's what fans like. That's what fans want to see. You don't get those fights very often anymore. You get runners. And AJ is not a runner. He gets in there, he mixes it big time. I'm not a fan of AJ or not a fan of AJ. Not AJ bashing, but this is what we see. This is what the fans want. The fans want to see a fight, not a runner. But you see with Parker and the other guy. The other guy, I thought he was bold. He's running so fast. We want to see fights. And AJ is the man who is fighting right now.
So he's fighting and he's entertaining, which is the name of the game, as you've always said.
That's right.
So let's move on to the biggest fight that's out there, which is Deonte Wilder against AJ. Now Wilder is unbeaten, AJ is unbeaten, but Wilder has had double the amount of fights than Anthony Joshua's had. Anthony Joshua's had 20, and Deonte Wilder has had nearly 40 fights. So what's happening there?
Put the house on AJ. Wilder's going to be running and running and running and running and running. Put the house, put the monarchy on AJ. Trust me, that fight happens, Wilder will be running. The first time he gets touched with a jab, he'll be running. Not even a right hand, a runner. He'll be running. People think that Wilder is the man, but he isn't. When you're a puncher, you know about it.
Last question before we conclude this very first ever interview broadcast for John Collins Live Television.
Sure.
Please subscribe, everybody. Is this: you've had first-hand experience of Kubrat Pulev, the Bulgarian boxer who had to pull out for an injury.
Sure.
You know him personally. You've come up against him in the ring.
Sure.
If Pulev gets a shot at Joshua, in your opinion, how's that going to end? Because Pulev's a clever boxer, isn't he?
Very, very smart. Very smart boxer.
Will he pose AJ problems?
Sure, definitely.
Will AJ be able to solve the problems?
It's up to him.
It's up to AJ to solve the problems.
We want to see that.
Well, that's fantastic. I was disappointed Pulev did pull out, but I think it's fair to say that whilst the heavyweight division does not have the caliber as it had back in the day, at least now there are some fights actually out there that are worth watching in that division.
Sure.
And I think that's the message. And a very last question now about Derek Chisora and
his opponents.
Not his opponent. His opponent, he's fighting for the European heavyweight title against a guy called Agit in Monaco on the weekend. Now, Agit is a German Turk who's 16-0. They always seem to be that figure. And then they get stuck in a big title fight. I've looked at his record. There's nobody on there that, for me, signals that he's got anything at all, to be quite honest. And there's quite a lot of fighters on it that have been built up with gym fights. So, in your opinion, does he have any questions or answers for Derek?
Well, you know, if we go by records, we can say that this guy hasn't fought anyone. The truth of the matter is, this is a fight. It is up to Derek and up to his opponent to make it a fight, to make it a meaningful fight, to make it worthwhile. Anyone who wins this title gets in a position now to fight for a world title. And if they know that and they produce the goods, I'm quite sure they'll give a good account of themselves and the winner will be looking to fight one of the world champions. Which one? I don't know. But we want to see a good fight.
G-Man, it's been a pleasure. This is going to be the very first ever broadcast for John Collins Live Television. Obviously, you'll be back. We've done 10 minutes. See you again.